Yeah.
So maybe let's start at the beginning. So talk to parents. So there's a lot of parents out there that are like, my kid can only play soccer because it's 12 months a year, or lacrosse or basketball or volleyball or whatever it is. Why don't you tell everybody kind of what your sports journey has been and how many sports you played at what ages and all of that?
So, I always really prioritized softball when I was playing sports, especially when I was younger. My mom always tells this story about I always played soccer, but she would have to bribe me to get me to actually play. I used to sit in the grass and pick dandelions. So softball was always my number one because all my friends
What
played it. And then
age did that?
probably 4 or 5, I was playing t-ball and I just kept going from there. And then I always played little league soccer and rec, and I really didn't start playing club soccer until probably freshman year of high school. So I've always played 2 or 3 sports at a time. I played softball, I played soccer, and then in middle school I picked up volleyball. And for a while, volleyball was kind of where I wanted to if I was going to play in college, volleyball was always my number one. I loved it the most out of it all. But then COVID hit, and because of that, I really couldn't play volleyball as much, but I could keep playing soccer because it was an outdoor sport. And so I just started loving soccer a lot more and joined a club team, and here we are. So yeah, I've always played.
We are, but even talking about, so I had this epiphany. My daughter is a junior, and we were at a volleyball tournament last week in Salt Lake City. It really shouldn't be an epiphany, but when I think about my journey in our generation, I never worried about where I was going to play or playing in front of coaches or having to perform. And you walk into these convention centers filled with 10,000 athletes and all of these coaches. Do you remember, just out of curiosity, whatever sport it was, that it came to mind for you? Like, oh gosh, if I want to play at the next level, I got to be serious about this? Or do you remember what age, or did that occur to you?
I think that was probably end of sophomore year, early junior year, because that summer I spent 3 weeks doing nonstop ID camps for soccer because I realized I was like, wait, this doesn't just fall into your lap. You really need to go out and do this. So I went, my dad lives in New York City, so we did a road trip basically through 3 different states and just stopped at school to school to school and did a bunch of ID camps through there because it really was. I was talking to girls on my team and they were like, "Yeah, you really have to go seek these coaches out. They don't find you."
That's good advice, right? So don't wait for somebody to discover you. If you want to play, go to their camp, is what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you enjoy it, just ride the ride. That was the 3 weeks, it was super stressful and taxing, but it was also so much fun. I was playing soccer basically every other day in all of these different states with players that I've never met before. It was a really interesting experience because I feel like a lot of times with sports you play with that little bubble that's your club or your team or whatever, and you stick with those girls. So that's what I do love about ID camps is you get the opportunity to play with people that you would have never seen it.
hmm And what came of that? Like, did you get any letters from coaches after that, or was there any outcome other than that was fun?
So I got a couple offers from coaches, but they were at smaller schools, and I had kind of come to the decision that sports wasn't my main priority. So I would have schools reaching out to me from Nebraska and smaller states and schools like that. And I was like, well, if it's not a school that I love and could see myself at, then I guess sports will just go. I'll play club, maybe I'll play intramural, but so really not much came from that.
It was
After
fun.
that, I kind of just went back to business as usual.
So I know you're quite the student and you have other activities outside of sports, which again is another thing I think a lot of parents need to hear. It's really hard if you're playing club, and you were playing club volleyball and soccer and playing for your
hmm
teams. So what other activities did you participate in high school aside from being a great student?
I was on student council, which I think was the best decision I could have ever made. That was so amazing. And then I was participated in a lot of random miscellaneous clubs. And then, outside of that, I've just always loved like kind of doing stuff in the spur of the moment. So like I would see a flyer for some like event that was happening on a random Sunday and I'd be like, "Let's go. It's 45 minutes away, but like I get out of practice at this time, like let's do it." I think that's so important to like especially in high school, like now that I'm out of high school, like have those like random experiences with your friends that you're gonna regret not having in college, and also just like a break from sports. Because it's like I'd have early morning practices on a Saturday for volleyball, and it feels like your day's over because you're exhausted, and it's like no, go do something. Like
Can
so,
you talk
yeah.
about
I
cosplay at all?
Oh yeah, I honestly didn't even think about that. Yeah, no, I mean, I
That's where
was a
I was
huge
going. I thought you were going to lead with that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's her. Every time I see your posts, I'm like, look at her. She's amazing.
Yeah, I was a huge cosplayer. I mean, like probably once a month I'd go to some like convention for the weekend, and that was so much fun and introduced me to a community you don't really interact with in the sports world. Like it's a lot
Yeah.
nerdier and a lot like it was so cool because I'd meet these people and like we'd trade Instagrams and then like I'd run into them again at the next convention I went to. It was like this like small little bubble of like people that I really didn't see outside of these like conventions and like Instagram, but it's really cool and it was a really great outlet for me because
Hmm.
like I don't know, like high school's a weird time. You're figuring yourself out, and so cosplay was kind of like I got to pretend to be these characters that I really respected and like that had kind of already figured themselves out. So like through them, I was kind of able to find like the pieces of myself that I truly loved. Like I loved their bravery or their loyalty, and like I kind of wanted to see that in myself almost.
Hmm. So parents, I love this because I think again, one of the things we see are our child does something really well, and you put all your chips in that basket. But what happens when that's not going well, and if you don't have other interests, right? So let's fast forward to it's time to make decisions to where you're going to go to school. What did you ultimately? Obviously, we know you ended up at William and Mary, but why did you choose that, and how did you get there?
I mean, I found like I said, the schools that I could have played sports in were just schools that I wasn't really drawn to. And I also found like a lot of times when touring schools that like I was always comparing them to William and Mary, and William and Mary was never really an option for me. I didn't want to go because my parents went. I was like, I want to find something new. But like we would be touring like NYU or George Washington, and I was like, well, I don't like it as much because there's not as much nature as William and Mary. And then the more schools we toured, I was like, maybe if I'm comparing everything to William and Mary, like William and Mary might be where I fit. And I mean, it definitely is. I love it here. But like a big part of it was just like the campus itself. Like it really allows you to, like, there's these amazing hiking trails that I'll walk once a week, which is just like great for me, like for my mental health to just like take time in nature. And they had great club sports and intramural sports. And I wanted to keep playing multiple sports. Like that's what I've always done. And I've found that playing multiple sports like helps. Like my volleyball abilities has definitely helped like me get up and stop shots in the air, and like softball movements has helped me throw the ball in soccer. Like so I wanted to be somewhere that would allow me to continue to play multiple sports.
Yeah, I used to love to go down to Lake Matoka and just sit on the lake.
Mhm. Yes, yeah. Now that it's
Green and
spring, we all go lay out and suntan on the dock at Lake
yeah,
Matoka.
yeah, or in sunken gardens. Yeah. So
Uh-huh.
okay, so you get in, right? You get in. You're like, okay, fine. I'm pivoting away from all sports. I'm going to finish my high school sports, and I'm going to say goodbye to competitive sports. And then June, you get a phone call. Who is the phone call from?
So June, I'm at a volleyball tournament out of state. I can't remember what state we were in, and I get a phone call from my college, not my college coach, my club coach, and he was like, "Ava, the William Mary coaches have reached out to me. They've had like a keeper quit, and they need three keepers, and they know you're already in the school. Like like you went to one of their ID camps, so they have footage of you playing. Like they'd love to talk to you and maybe like see this through." And I got this call about 2 weeks after I quit club. Like, I was playing club soccer and I just wasn't having as much fun. I was like, okay, I'm not going anywhere with this. Bye bye. And I was like, well, Dallas, what do you think? And he was like, I mean, I think you could thrive there, but like you quit, so it's really up to you. Like, do you still like soccer? And I remember I told my mom, I was like, I don't think I want to do it. I was like, I'm done. I said my goodbyes to soccer. Like, I'm good. And she was like, Ava, you're really not even going to see this through? Like, this is a huge opportunity. And so she convinced me to, the coaches were holding an ID camp on in June, and they were like, come out, we'll see you play. You can get to know us, you can get to know some of the players, and we'll just see how both parties feel. I was like, okay, I'll do it. Whatever. Wasn't really feeling it. I really was
Yeah,
kind of
no
like,
harm, no
I
foul.
don't know.
Might as well try. Yeah.
Yeah. And we got there and I was so nervous. Like it really like I mean I had all the chips in my basket and I was still like losing my mind. And I honestly how I played in that ID camp, my mom and I still talk about it, was probably the worst I've ever played. Like it was like she came up to me after and was like, "Ava, what were you doing?" But like it was like I just had so much fun though. Like it was like I had stopped playing soccer for 2 weeks and forgot how much I really enjoyed competing. And like the first hour and a half of the ID camp was all of this super technical stuff. And I really never took soccer seriously. So I just wasn't that good at it. And
Mhm.
then like the last 30 minutes was this huge full field game. And they subbed me in for the other goalie. We were down 3-0. And I made like two crazy saves and we came back and won 4-3. And I was like, wow, that felt great. And like we were walking around the campus and I had talked to a bunch of the players and I was like, I really, I really want to do this. Like, I was just so happy. I was so giddy. Like, we were driving back to Debbie's house after the camp, and I was like, oh my God, like, I had so much fun. And yeah, we sat down with the coaches and they were like, do you want to think about it? And I was like, no. I was like, I'm in. Like, and we set up a 1 year deal. They were like, if you hate it, if we hate it, like, we'll revisit it after a year. And then now I'm on the team all four
So let's
years.
talk about the season. Tell me what the season was to you. I understand there was a sprint or not like a drill that you had to do times that you had to make, and it's well, I'm sure I remember it being 85 with like 100% humidity. You're just sweating the
Oh
second
my
you step out of
God.
the right? And now you got to get on the field and do sprints, and you're a keeper, so you're probably not used to doing these sprints. How did that go?
So we had, yeah, it's called the Man U. It's a fitness test where you have 35 seconds to run 100 yards and then 25 to jog back. And so keepers had to do 10. And then after 10, the time shortens. And so it keeps getting shorter, but keepers only had to do 10. And this was like our first day out on the like field, like first time wearing the cleats, whatever. And they're like warm up, we're doing the test, and then we'll go into like
What do the others
practice.
have to
And
do? How many do they have to do?
everyone else has to do 18, I'm pretty sure.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. The test is about 20 minutes long for like it's 10 minutes for keepers, about 20 minutes for everyone else.
Okay.
And I remember we were on the third and I was like, I can't breathe. I'm freaking out. Like, oh my God. I'm like seeing stars. Like literally I had to tap out. I was so pissed at myself because I had done it all summer in California and I mean, it sucked, but like I got through it and I was on three and like was dying. And it was that humidity. I literally like after a week of practicing, I like talked to one of my coaches and was like, I think there's something wrong with my breathing because this is this is I cannot breathe. So they took like I had went to the doctor and found out that like the humidity and the change in environment for me had like given me asthma.
Oh
Like
my.
coming to William and Mary with the humidity. And then like yeah, I had to take the menu. I took it 4 times where I got it. And then
Did you ever want to quit?
no, I was just so like it was almost the fact that like I knew I could do it. I had done it, so I knew I could. It was like the anxiety of it and like the pressure of like I don't know, just everyone's watching you, you have to get to 10, like totally freaked me out, which is so weird because I've always been a game player. Like in competitive situations is when I do the best. So I thought like, oh, it's easy. Just a little running test. But no, it took me 4 times. When I got it, I mean, I was so happy, but I was like, I'm done. Honestly, the
How
coaches
many
were
kids
hilarious. They're
were
like,
with you? How many others were with you on the last one?
It was just me. So
Just
the
you.
first one, there were six of us. And then there were four, and then it was me.
Last man standing. One man standing.
Yeah, but I mean, the coaches even say it now. They were like, I mean, the improvement from like that first week we've seen, where it was like every day you're running this fitness test and you could not get through it. And now, like, you're super comfortable with it all. And whenever we run tempos or suicides or whatever, we can just tell how much your fitness has improved. Like, it's the best
Amazing.
thing to hear.
So parents didn't get recruited, had to walk on, got there and didn't pass the test 3 times, right? Okay, so you get to the season. Did you start? Did you play? How many minutes did you get?
So I got 3 minutes in a game we played against Hampton when we were up 6-0. I gotta say though, that experience is like an experience I'll remember for the rest of my life because we were up 6-0 and the coaches say my name and I'm on the bench like, what? Me?
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you need water? Huh? Can I help?
Like, you get a ball? Like, I can go do that. But, and I just remember the entire bench like erupting in cheers. Like, all of these seniors were running up to me and hugging me. And I was like standing at the sideline waiting to go in to sub in. And this one senior, Jill, she's the kindest person I've ever met, runs up to me and like grabs me by the shoulders. And she's like, don't worry, whatever you do, you'll do amazing. And it was just, and I like stepped on the field, and that 3 minutes, I mean, I didn't touch the ball. I spent the whole 3 minutes being like, shift left, shift right, step up, like just shouting random commands because I wanted to do something. But like anytime I said anything, like someone on the bench would be like, way to communicate, Ava. And just like the support from that team, like I will remember that moment for the rest of my life. Like, eh, but like that 3 minutes was so exciting. And that game was the game when we won it is when we found out we were going to the tournament for the first time in I think like 4 or 5 years, which was also just like wow. And then in the spring I've gotten a lot more time. I've played about like a game and a half.
Amazing. Well, talk
Yeah.
about the fact that you had that support going onto the field, right? What is where does the culture come from? That where does that start? That those girls are willing to be so supportive.
I mean, we were actually just talking about this because a lot of the seniors are leaving because it's the end of our spring season. And like those seniors were there for the beginning when like Shax really stepped into the role, Shax and Marsha, and like it's clear that like from the start, like Shax and Marsha established these like this amazing culture with them, and those seniors have done such a great job of passing it down to the underclassmen. Like they have taught all of us that like at the end of the day, like we're a team. It doesn't matter how terrible you played at practice. It doesn't matter how good you played at practice. Like we're here for each other and it's like a team sport. And it's really the seniors and all the upperclassmen have like done such a good job cultivating the culture and passing it down to like the next generation. And now like it's my class's turn to pass it down to the next incoming freshman. Because that's such a big part where like preseason it's you and the sophomores in a dorm for 3 weeks. And
Mhm.
like everything you know comes from them. Like you go into their room and you're like, hey, like, what do we do in practice today? What does this mean? Like, what does this acronym mean? What does me before we mean? Like, all of this stuff. And they teach you it all to you. And now we're going to teach it all to the next class and they'll teach it to the next. So,
There are a few
yeah.
freshman starters, right? Like there, you had a couple freshmen.
Yes.
That's yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that everybody, you need to include everyone, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, in high school, I started as a freshman, and the girls hazed me. They actually spit on me when I walked into school in the morning. The seniors and the juniors, right? So, yeah, no, it's amazing that you have the culture you do. But
Mm-hmm.
being when you experience the opposite, it's like, and when I had that experience, I said to myself, I will never ever treat anybody that way. And sure enough, when I transferred schools the next year and went to a different high school, and there was a freshman starting on our basketball team, come this way. We're going to do this together, right? And
Mm-hmm.
clearly, Shax and Marcia have set that tone that who cares what year you are? Leadership is not about age. Leadership is how you show up every day, right? And
Mm-hmm.
being supportive and being a team player and embracing whether you get 3 minutes or 0 minutes. How many are on the roster? There's like 30 something.
Yeah, 30.
Yeah, which means it's going to be tough to get. You only got 9 on the field at the time, right? So getting playing time is going to be a struggle, and that's another thing we talk about a lot on this podcast, which is what woe is me if I'm not on the field. No, I have got a role, right? You feel
Mm-hmm.
like you have a huge role on this team, even though you only played 3 minutes.
Everyone has such a huge role. I mean, whether it's like your job is to just make sure that the other two keepers who are playing more like get a good workout in every practice, like you're challenging them, or if your role is to stand on the bench and cheer on your teammate as she dribbles down the line past you, or if your role is to be the starting forward and score a goal every game. Like everyone's role is so vital to the team.
And can we talk about, so this past week something happened that was fairly unexpected. Can you tell me what
Yes.
happened? Your banquet?
So, yeah, we had our end of the year banquet, which is like really to celebrate the seniors and like kind of go over the season, the highs, the lows, whatever. And they gave out two awards and one like award for so one award was to a senior and it was like your who embodies our team spirit the most, like who is like tribe women's soccer almost. And then the other award that was given out was to one of the freshmen, Ivy Crane, who was rookie of the year, like first team all CAA. And I mean, ev- I assume I thought that that was it, and then the coaches said that they had one more award. And I was like, oh, okay, wonder who it is. And I this is a joke that I have because I was told this during one of my individual meetings, but I knew it was me because Shaq said like two sentences in that this player was a player that at first she really did not want. Like she had to be convinced to add this player to the roster, and I was like, wait, she said that to me. But and then she's like, but honestly, I'm glad I was convinced because she's the best decision I've ever made. And I was sitting there like, oh my God, like what? And they announced that the award was for me for the most passionate player, and it was totally unexpected. I could not stop crying. But it was just like such an amazing moment, and such a fulfilling moment because I mean, you go like I went into preseason and it was like I don't really know what my role is on this team. I don't really know what they want from me. I don't really know what I'm doing. And like you just try to put one foot in front of the other every day and do what you think is best for yourself and for the team. And I mean, clearly I did something right because here we are. And it like the Joe, I say Slay a lot, and so I call everyone on the team a nickname, their name combined with Slay. So like a girl on our team, Layla, is Slayla. And so as soon as I was awarded the award, one of the juniors shouted across the banquet and it was like, "It's the Slay Award, Slay Ava!" And I was like, "Oh my goodness!" But just like a moment like that where it's like you realize that like you really are a part of this and like you've made a mark on these people and that like they've made a mark on you. Like I don't know where I would be without these girls on this team.
One of the fun exercises I love to do with athletes is say, think about a year ago. So if I was talking to you a year ago right now, and I said, guess what? You're going to play D1 soccer this year, and you're going to be so impactful. You're going to get an award next year. What would you have said to me?
I wouldn't have believed you.
No, are you kidding?
Not at all.
Yeah, I'm going to quit soccer. In fact, I'm probably done
Uh-huh.
in a couple of weeks, right? So good joke, Kirsten, right? So I love how being open to the opportunity and being open-minded and then being all in. Like clearly you're all in and you're showing up every day, whether I'm playing 0 minutes at 99% of the games or I get 3 minutes and learning and growing and taking it all in and obviously being an incredible teammate. Aren't giving that word to somebody who's standing on the sidelines with their arms crossed, right? So that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So what's next? You obviously are finishing up spring season, and then what does it look like for the summer?
I mean, the summer I'll split time between New York City and California. lots of goalkeeper training, lots of running, making sure I'm ready for that Man U next year. I'm gonna make
How
sure
many times are you gonna take to pass this year? What's the goal?
one. I'm gonna do
One.
number
Let's
one.
do it. Yeah.
hmm if
I
I
like
have
it.
to run it once a week, I'll run it once a week. Like that's the goal. But yeah, lots of training this summer, seeing friends from home. I'm so excited. Um,
Yeah.
other than that, my mom's birthday, my birthday, just kind of same old summer. Go to the
And
beach.
academically, maybe touch on how has the transition been from high school to college? What do you think you were
It's,
prepared coming into William and Mary?
I don't think I was prepared. It's definitely harder. Not harder than like a little less harder than I thought it was going to be, but it's
Mhm.
also a lot more. I don't know. I don't know how to describe it. Like it's a lot more work you have to do outside of class. Like going to class is important, but like the stuff that they give you outside of class is equally as important. I feel like a lot of times in high school you could get away with like BSing some homework assignments or not watching a video before class and be fine. College is a
Mhm.
lot more like you go to class for 50 minutes 3 times a week, and then you have to put like 2 3 hours in outside of class to make sure you fully understand everything that's going on. And so that's always been a lot harder for me because I'm a procrastinator and I get distracted very easily. So I'll be in my room and then someone knocks on the door, and then 2 hours later we're sitting on our room floor chatting, and I'm like, oh my god, I was supposed to watch a movie for my class tomorrow and I did not.
I've heard that when I talk to college coaches, they say the number one key to success from high school to college is time management. And if you
hmm
can manage your time, right? And in fact, I always found that in season, my grades were better than out of season because I didn't have time to procrastinate, right? Like
Yep.
my window is this. And so I have to study from 8 to 10 or 8 to 11 or whatever because I don't have any other time throughout the day with practice and workouts and whatever, video and all of that. So do you
hmm
find your spring season it's been harder to stay focused or you've been able to stay on
Oh
top of
yeah.
it?
No,
Yeah.
I've found that spring has been harder. It's also just
Yeah.
like a matter of finding what motivates you. Like I I've figured out that like I really need to like change where I study almost every day, whether it be like one day I'm at Matoka writing my essay, or like the next day instead of doing homework till midnight, I go to bed at 9 and wake up at 5 a.m. and do homework till my 8 a.m. class. Like mixing it up every day just so like I don't get pulled into some like monotonous schedule.
Ooh, that's good advice. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has been so, yeah, I've been cheering along for you, and yeah, every time I talk to your mom and hear the stories and so proud of you and everything you've accomplished. And, you're such a great role model for this is why we play sports. It's not for, you didn't, I'm sure didn't set out because I need to get an award. It's because you love to play and you want to be a great teammate, right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And putting one step in front of the other is only gonna doing all of these pieces, I'm sure is gonna set you up for success for whatever's next. And at some point you're gonna have to
hmm
pivot out of soccer, obviously. But this hard work, somebody's gonna be like, yeah, I want to hire her. I know exactly what she stands for. And it's hard work and grit and resilience. And you're gonna have all these stories of how you overcame all of these obstacles along the way. So thank you for sharing.
Oh, thank you for giving me a space to share.
Absolutely. I can't wait to have the parents hear this and hopefully share it with some athletes too. It'd be fun to get some teens listening to the podcast too. I'm sure the parents are trying to get them to do that, but I do have some parents who say I put it on the car when we're on our way to practice and I let them listen. So thank you for being an inspiration and so lovely to see you. Go Tribe.
Lovely to see you too. Go Tribe.
Woo-hoo. And parents, please feel free to like and share and post and give us feedback. And, how do you like this? And I was thinking of getting some college athletes on and maybe even some, high school athletes on and hearing everybody's different journey and to know that your journey is your own, but there's no right or wrong way or one way to do this. So this has been great. We'll see you soon. Bye.